I'm Brian Dacanay. I'm the Commercial Partnerships Director at Tier 1. The way I started in the industry was I started in advertising, so I was on the creative and strategy side of it. Eventually made my way over to media, to a media agency, and eventually making my way to a passion point media platform or marketing platform via a sports media property in one championship. So prior to this, I was heading up this business unit called Global Strategic Key Accounts in the Philippines and covering some regional markets like Myanmar at one championship. So that's basically what I did, was similar to what I do now, where I integrate brands into a sports media property through sports marketing. I think sometime late 2018, 2019, we started moving into esports back when I was at one championship. And I've done a lot of research on who the big players are in the Philippines, being that this was the primary market that I covered on commercials. So, and Tier 1 came up as the name, and I think sometime November of last year, I found out one of my friends in the industry moved to Tier 1. We caught up at one of our common brand partners parties, and talked about esports and gaming as an industry, and kind of found out what they were doing at Tier 1. And eventually that conversation turned into an opportunity when they decided that expansion in Southeast Asia was a priority and I could help with that. So that real opportunity, that conversation was when I had a conversation with Joanne, who heads up sales and commercial partnerships. Yeah, and eventually that's how I found out about Tier 1 and made my way over. What I love about where we are in our business life cycle is we're still at the start of it, where we have to innovate, be agile, while having delicate hands to do it. So I think that's what I love about Tier 1 right now. The answers could come from anywhere. It could come. It doesn't necessarily have to always come from leadership. And it could come from the working level guys, and that type of culture where everyone's ideas or everyone's opinion is valued, breeds a culture of meritocracy, and it builds a culture of a solution-first mindset where there's very little bureaucracy and there's very little red tape, that we are scaling at a pace where we need to be. So that's, I think, what I most enjoy about being at Tier 1. My favorite part about working at Tier 1 is that I love gaming. So, being able to have the opportunity to do something that you love, while having a career, while doing it, is something that not everyone gets to experience in their lifetime, right? So I think that's my favorite part, is that I get to play the games that I love, and to be able to share that passion of gaming to the industry that I've grown up with, which is media. How brands can tap into gaming, into something that I love, for us to create value against their marketing objectives. I think that's my favorite part, because I'm a gamer first, and being able to build a career around it is something that I wouldn't have thought of years ago. I think what's good about what the future holds for us is, right now we have, at least from a reach, frequency, and engagement standpoint, I see that we've already conquered the Philippines and making our inroads into the current expansions that we have in Malaysia and Myanmar. What I'm most excited about, though, is how our long-term vision will come to fruition, and that is to export talents from Asia to the rest of the world. Any tips or advice? I would say that first you have to love what you do, and that comes with being a gamer first, I think. Because there's a certain language or a certain type of communication when it comes to gamers. It's a closed-off community, understandably so, because there was just a lack of support early on with the industry, right? So my advice is that, know the product and know gaming by being a gamer yourself. The second thing is, commercialization in esports and gaming is just at the cusp. We're just at the cusp of it, because versus traditional sports where the four major sports in the U.S. are averaging about $50 revenue per viewer, whereas in esports, where it's already bigger than some of the traditional sports in terms of viewership, you're still averaging about $4 per viewer. So I would say that having a media or entertainment background would be beneficial as we look to commercialize the whole industry, not just the company, but the whole industry of esports and gaming itself. So having both, being a gamer and probably going into another, to either any business in the media ecosystem would be the right path if you really want to go into esports and gaming.